Welcome to yet another episode of the program from the National Assembly, House of Representatives. I am Mitaire Ikben, and it's good to have you join us at this time. The House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee on the International Boundary Dispute between Nigeria and Cameroon has been holding public hearings to get the views of critical stakeholders on the international boundary line between both countries. The bone of contention is that varied interpretations of the International Court of Justice (ICJ) ruling, which ceded the Bakassi Peninsula to Cameroon, could lead to further loss of Nigerian territories if the appropriate boundary pillars are not located in the implementation of that judgment by the Nigeria-Cameroon Mixed Commission. On the program today, we'll bring you one of the public hearings of that committee, chaired by Representative Benny Lar.
We're here for two particular reasons. One, on the likely ceding of the Sina or Shina area of Michigan local government of Adamawa State to the Republic of Cameroon. We recall that we did the first phase of this interactive session for the Danare-Biajua axis, following which the committee visited the Danare communities in Cross River State and held a public hearing in Cross River State to investigate and find the facts for ourselves. On that visit, we met with the executive governor and all the relevant stakeholders in Cross River State. The second aspect of this motion and our terms of reference, which is very critical and crucial, is to include the Shina area of Michigan local government in our fact-finding assessment. And we're also to have an interactive briefing with the military, to know the role of the military, the paramilitary, and the security agencies towards safeguarding the borders and territorial integrity of Nigeria. So we're here to find out what is the role of the military. What is the role of the military in safeguarding our borders? Because as we know, Nigerian borders, safeguarding the territorial waters under the Constitution lies under the purview of the Navy. And we must thank the Nigerian Navy for their support when we visited Cross River State and Danare axis. We are supposed to have the Navy here because they should tell us, the community on our visits, and I'm glad Honorable Abiante is here, complained that there was lack of military presence on the territorial boundary. So we expected the Nigerian Navy to be here today. We don't know why they're not here. Okay. So now, today we are going to specifically focus on Adamawa State. We want to know what is going on the Nigerian-Cameroon border in Adamawa State. Following a motion by Honorable Victor on Cross River State, another motion by Honorable Nyampa also came by way of request to the Speaker that we investigate that constituency. And we want to know what is going on in Michigan local government of Adamawa State, which borders Cameroon. What is the state of our boundaries? Number one, what is the legality of the territorial boundaries that we have right now? Is there any legal impediment? Number two, what role are the security, the military, and all relevant security stakeholders playing to safeguard those boundaries and territories which belongs to Nigeria? Thank you very much. We will listen to you. It's a fact-finding session, so we are going to do more of the listening before we conduct an on-the-spot assessment in Adamawa State, and we'll visit those communities and those boundaries, those communities that border Cameroon and have these issues in their boundaries. So we will start with the National Boundary Commission. National Boundary Commission, please explain to us what is the issue. What is the matter on the potential ceding of Sina area of Adamawa State to Cameroon?
The then President of Nigeria, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, and his Cameroonian counterpart, Mr. Paul Biya, in the presence of the then Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Kofi Annan, agreed and set up what we now call the Cameroon-Nigeria Mixed Commission. This commission was charged with the responsibility of implementing the judgment. And the commission, in its wisdom, decided to set up sub-commissions, which include the sub-commission on affected populations, to identify and assess and recommend modalities for the protection of the rights of the people affected by the judgment. There was also the Mixed Commission also established working groups on withdrawal and transfer of authority that saw to the successful transfer of 33 villages in Lake Chad that were affected by the judgment. Other settlements along the boundary that were affected included Indabakura in Nigeria, Nadki in Cameroon, Dambore in Nigeria, Borawango also in Nigeria. These communities were also transferred appropriately, with those to go to Cameroon, going to Cameroon, those to come to Nigeria, coming to Nigeria. Then there's also the sub-commission on demarcation. That sub-commission on demarcation is charged with the responsibility of traversing the entire stretch of the 2,100 kilometer length of the boundary to emplace markers to make the boundary visible to the people along the boundary corridor. That sub-commission has been working. All other sub-commission and working groups have since finished their assignments, and their reports have been considered and accepted by the Cameroon-Nigeria Mixed Commission. But the sub-commission on the demarcation is still ongoing, is still working. So far, the sub-commission on demarcation has emplaced a total of 2,214 pillars along the boundary between Nigeria and Cameroon. Now, the Adamawa State sector, which is the subject matter of this hearing, the boundary between Nigeria and Cameroon, as decided by the International Court of Justice, is based on treaties and agreements that had been entered into by colonial masters. The court upheld these treaties and agreements and ruled that they be used to re-establish the boundary. It's not a new boundary, it's a boundary that is existing, and there are documents that show to the fact that these boundaries have been existing. What the court ruled is that go and use these documents to re-establish the boundary as it has always been recognized. Now, in the course of implementing that decision by the court, the sub-commission on demarcation had traversed the entire stretch of the Nigeria-Cameroon boundary and emplaced pillars, markers at appropriate places along the boundary. In the Adamawa State sector, we have emplaced a couple of pillars along the boundary in that sector. Nigeria and Cameroon differed. They differed in the interpretation of the judgment, as a result of which we have 3 areas we designate as disagreement areas. One is Rumsuki in Michika local government area. There's Koja in Mubi local government area of Adamawa State. And the position of Pillar 8 is also disputed by these 2 nations. So these 3 spots, the 2 communities and the Pillar 8, are designated as disagreement areas. And all efforts over the years to resolve them had not been quite successful, to the extent that the 34th session of the Cameroon-Nigeria Mixed Commission agreed that since the two parties could not agree on the resolution of the disagreements around these two settlements and that point, Pillar 8, those areas may be referred back to the International Court of Justice for further interpretations. So we have that understanding that the two nations may eventually refer these three disagreement areas back to the International Court of Justice for disagreement. Now, for further clarifications, the settlements of Sinagale and Sinawati in Adamawa State had never been in disputes. They had never been in dispute between Nigeria and Cameroon. So the judgment did not touch on this. So it is expected that the instrument that defines the boundary in that sector be used. And that is the Chamshan Declaration of 1931. It describes the alignment of the boundary in that sector to follow the ranges of some mountains. The Sina settlements prior to now had been on top of the mountains. But over time, the people came down from the mountains and settled on the valley. Unfortunately, they settled on the part of Cameroon. So, from our findings, they are right inside the territory of Cameroon. So when you get the boundary line as already defined by the parties, that is the technical teams of Nigeria, Cameroon, and the United Nations. The settlements of Sinawate and Sinagale are on the side of Cameroon. And in fact, because they were never in dispute, no action was taken by the International Court of Justice on these settlements. We have some of our maps that showed when they were on the top of mountains and now on the valley. But when they decided to come down, they came down to the eastern part of the mountains, which is the Cameroonian side. So the problem we had is when the contractor that was commissioned by the Cameroon Nigerian Commission to emplace markers went on ground to emplace these markers, the contractor was accosted by the youths who prevented the work to be undertaken in 2010. And the technical team had marked the boundary line as far back as 2007. It was never contested, but when they were to go and put markers, the contractor was accosted by the use of the Sina settlements to resist the work of the contractor. And their excuse was that they were not part of the settlement and that they were not even sure whether the work of the contractor was sanctioned by the Cameroon Nigerian Commission. So they disrupted the work. The work was stalled. Then over time, efforts were made to sensitize the people and the government of Adamawa State appropriately, preparatory to the last award of the contract for this that included that same particular area. In 2023, recently, the Lot 7 work of the Cameroon Nigerian Commission encompassed that sector. So when the contractor went on ground, he carried out exercises in the areas that were not in contention. But the Sina settlements group also obstructed the work and the work had to be stalled. So we could not work on that Sina group of settlements in 2010 and recently in 2023. So no pillars had been placed to mark. And the pillars are supposed to be placed in accordance with the treaties and the judgment, and just to make the boundary visible. So as it is now, pillars could not be placed in the Sinagale, Sinawate axis of the international boundary between Nigeria and Cameroon in the Adamawa State sector. So, our appeal is that we should take note of the fact that international boundary is a legal boundary established by law, and no single country can alter that boundary. And of course, to take note of the fact that the definition of international boundaries is the exclusive preserve of the federal government of Nigeria. It is not for Adamawa State to say it must be the way they want it, nor the communities to say this is how they want it. It is a boundary between the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the Federal Republic of Cameroon, to be defined jointly between Nigeria and Cameroon under the auspices of the Cameroon Nigerian Mixed Commission. Now, the Cameroon Nigerian Mixed Commission has the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation as the leader of the Nigerian team on that Cameroon Nigerian delegation. And they have met severally. In fact, the last session was the 34th session. They had been meeting alternately in Nigeria and Cameroon to look at issues on this boundary. And that is what had paved ways for the successful emplacement of over 2,000 pillars along the boundary. And they are also paved ways for the successful transfer of some of the affected communities, and also to provide confidence building amongst the communities along the boundary corridor. So we are at the tail end. We have only one more lot in the series of lots designed for the implementation of the pillar emplacement. We had pillars, lots 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The only outstanding lot is the lot 8, which we are hoping should be considered next year with the award of the contract to continue with the pillar emplacement in all other outstanding sectors, including Sinawate and the Danare Biajua axis of the boundary. So our appeal is for the communities to take note of the fact that this boundary is a boundary that is defined between Nigeria and Cameroon, that only the federal government has the exclusive right to implement the boundary decision as ruled. And also to take note of the fact that attempts had been made. This is the second attempt that was made unsuccessfully for the emplacement of pillars in the Sina Wate and Sina Gale. And it's becoming an embarrassment to Nigeria as a nation. That is a boundary that was never contested, and we had had Nigeria obstructing the implementation of the emplacement of pillars as decided by the two nations, that the International Court of Justice ruling on the entire stretch of the boundary will be respected and is acceptable to the two nations. So we're calling on the governments to sensitize the people appropriately and solicit their cooperation and support, so that when this area is included in the lot 8, the only outstanding lot to be awarded next year, please let us cooperate for this area to be made visible and the boundary defined for clarity, for peaceful coexistence between Nigeria and Cameroon. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson and distinguished members.
The Honorable the Attorney General of the Federation and the Minister of Justice and the Inspector General of Police are members of the Cameroon Nigerian Mixed Commission. So our presentation is basically on all fours with representation of the DG of the National Boundary Commission. I just would like to note that this is an area that was, as he said, never contested, and that prior to the delivery of the judgment of the ICJ in 2002, both countries had, at the highest level, indicated political desire and commitment to respect and abide by the decision of the ICJ. And various steps have been taken since the delivery of that judgment in October of 2002 to enhance confidence building between both countries. And there has never been any derailing from that commitment on our part. We're quite concerned, though, that whilst we understand or we share in the pain of the affected communities, they need to understand that this is not a case that Nigeria is ceding territory. This is a territory that has been accepted and is in fact historically part of the Republic of Cameroon. And this particular part of the boundary was never in dispute. We understand that people live across borders. We expect that when they live on the territory of other people, they simply respect the customs, tradition, and laws of the other party. But I think it would not be fair for us to claim that territory simply because we have been in occupation for some time. As I said, our presentation is on all fours with that of the DG of the National Boundary Commission, just to provide this clarification. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Adamudiyu Kamale. I'm here to represent the Kamale Sina Wate Sinagara community, which is the community in dispute. Honorable Chair, for the purpose of clarity and understanding, I am 53 years today, and I believe my father died at 105 years, and also my grandfather, who died some hundreds of years ago. We can, without any doubt in our mind, attest that Sina Wate community has never been a settlement ground for Nigerian people. It has been a Nigerian territory. It has been part of the Germany territory that was amalgamated into Nigeria to plebiscite. And all the treaties and agreements that affect Sinagare, Sinawate, the place that is in question now, it also affects almost every part of Michigan local government. And by settlement, Honorable Chair, the name, our own indigenous name is Kamwe. The literal translation of Kamwe is the people of the mountains. That means every person, if he's a Kamwe man, which is popularly known as Higi now in Nigeria, we are descendants, we descended from mountains. So every other person, either he's found in Nigeria or in Cameroon, we are product of highlands. And to make it clear, let me announce it so that we can be fully aware of what is happening. The same tribe, this Kamwe we are talking about, that has been encouraged or that encouraged Cameroon territory, it is the same tribe that has spilled over to Cameroon, and today they have member of the National Assembly in Cameroon Republic. They have local government chairman in Cameroon Republic. So in nutshell, Honorable Chair, the community that is in dispute, it is not an encouraged territory. It is a territory that belongs to Nigeria right from plebiscite. So there is no issue of it was a settlement or secondary movement that made it to be the community that it is today. And having said this, Mr. Chairman, I am very happy, very, very happy indeed. And if I have sense of patriotism, it is highly elated today. Why? Because I have seen all the appropriate agencies seated down and talking about a ceded or intended ceding of a Nigerian territory to Cameroon. And it's very, very important. If we have sense of responsibility to our country, every citizen will take this issue with passion. From Lake Chad to Bakassi, the International Court of Justice ruled on several communities based on different criteria. the criteria that was used in Bakassi, it is not the one that is used in Michika local government. In our own case, the ruling stated clearly that it is the watershed. As soon as you approach Umarazrazaja, that was the reference from the ruling, up to the extent that it will even go to River Benue, you are going to use watershed. It's explicit. And if watershed is to be used, it means any territory that is on the flank to the left-hand side as you are coming from Lake Chad falls into Cameroon. Any other community that is to the right-hand side, if you are coming from Lake Chad, falls to Nigeria. Because Nigeria and Cameroon had an argument in the ruling. The Cameroon's position then was the foot of the mountain was to be adopted as the borderline. Nigeria averred that it must be the watershed. And in that case, Nigeria won. The court made pronouncement on Nigerian submission that it is the watershed that shall be used. Now, Honorable Chair, the demarcation committee, as you have said, started all the way from Lake Chad. Lake Chad is in the north, while Bakassi is in the south. The demarcation didn't start from Bakassi to Lake Chad. It started from Lake Chad. What it means is that you must finish with all the boundaries here down to Bakassi. Now where the point of contention is between Rumsike, which the National Boundary Commission DG said that Cameroon didn't allow them, or Cameroon didn't permit them, or is still contentious with Cameroon, and Sinawati. These are same communities. Let me enlighten the August gathering. Rumsike and Sinawati, they are the same. They are less than 2 kilometers apart. So by virtue of implementing the watershed, Rumsike automatically falls into Nigeria. And probably part of Sinawati we are talking about might fall also into Cameroon. Our people are not against the ruling of the International Court of Justice. We are against selective implementation, because if Rumsike, which is in the north, which is supposed to have been demarcated and finished before you come to Sina, you will jump Rumsike without pillar. Is there any provision in the ruling that Rumsike should not be demarcated? Then you jump it because Nigeria gained. That is not an issue. But let me tell you, because of the interest Cameroon has in the territory in Rumsike village, which is the center of their activities, they have done everything to penetrate our system to the extent that even our own people are compromised. Let me report to you, Honorable Chair, I am surprised and shocked like any other Nigeria. How on earth our own members of the Mixed Commission will go into Cameroon Republic and take the armed forces of Cameroon Republic to come and terrorize our own citizens in Nigeria? How on earth is it? And the demarcation exercise entails that if the activities in Nigerian territory, it is the Nigerian security agencies that will be used. If it is in Cameroon, it is the Cameroon the security agencies that will be used. Why they will dare go and bring security from Cameroon to torment Nigerians? So something is happening. Honorable Chair, something is happening seriously to Nigeria. And thank God, all of us are here. Now, our fact is simple. You have started from Lake Chad. Finish with Rumsike, which is on the northern part. If you finish Rumsike, the criteria you apply in Rumsike, come and apply to us and tell us where is our position. You can't jump one and come and say you will begin here. So what provoked our people, why they couldn't allow the peg to be installed, is because they refused, they jumped another community, which is Rumske, which is next to the wall. So why is this selective?
The second aspect of the interactive briefing is to examine the role of the military, the paramilitary, and the security agencies towards safeguarding the borders and territorial integrity of Nigeria. This briefing is to leverage inputs from the guarantors of our national security, the army, and the various security agencies, because in these disputed territories, Adamawa states and Cross River states.
The multinational joint task force, that's comprising militaries of Nigeria, Cameroon, Chad, Niger, and Republic of Benin. And presently, the force commander is a Nigerian. The headquarters is in N'Djamena, Chad. So apart from the security at local level that's within Nigeria, we also have the cross-border security arrangement under the multinational joint task force. Now, I know the immigration, customs, and other paramilitary agencies, they will also shed light on their roles and responsibilities when it comes to border security. But one thing is that apart from all our extant deployments, we also have what we call forward operating bases. And we establish these FOBs from time to time based on threat assessment. But as we speak, the Nigerian Army has not been officially communicated as regards to what is happening in this particular area. Once we are communicated, we will conduct a security assessment, and then when there's a need for us to establish an FOB or FOBs, as the case may be, we will do just that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much.
I am Air Vice Marshal Esola today, the Chief of Policy and Plan Headquarters, Nigerian Air Force. I'm representing the Chief of Air Staff, who is unavoidably absent. I was thinking that we were going to give a holistic brief on our roles in securing the borders and the territorial integrity of the country. But that notwithstanding, I will just restrict my brief to the project, the pillar and placement projects along Nigeria-Cameroon border. That's what I've just talked about briefly. We've been playing significant roles in accordance with the mandate given to the Nigerian Air Force. We've been providing air cover for the project by placing both fixed and rotary wing platforms on standby to conduct medical evacuation and quick intervention if necessary, because that's the mandate. That will just be on standby. So we have aircraft in Yola, we have aircraft also in Maiduguri that we have placed on standby to support the projects. Besides that, we also carry out area surveillance of the general area. Sometimes we use, though it's not in the mandate, we use UAV, unmanned area vehicle, to just monitor the whole environment so that if we discover any problem, we will know what next to do. We also liaise with the Nigerian Army to provide ground security and escort duties for the Tripartite Commission. That's the United Nations and all that, you know them. Then the last role we've been playing in that part is we participate in joint security coordination meeting. Like in July, our team, our officers were part of the team that went to, I think, Cameroon. They spent some days in Cameroon. So those are the roles we've been playing since we started.
We participate in the joint operation when the need arises with the other sister services. And as such, we conduct this similar operation with the Army and the Air Force.
The customs engage with the border communities to foster cooperation and gather information on suspicious activities. They conduct awareness campaigns, community outreach programs, and then sensitization initiative to promote the importance of border security and role of the communities in combating smuggling and other illegal activities. In summary, the service plays a multifaceted role in safeguarding the borders and territorial integrity of Nigeria. The functions encompasses not only revenue collection, but also border security, trade facilitation, law enforcement, and protection against various threats to the nation's well-being. Effective customs operations are essential for Nigeria's economic development and security. Regarding the issues of international body disputes, the fire service plays the role of facilitation, passage, as well as providing security and clearance to the national boundary delegation of the participating countries to jointly carry out pillar rehabilitation and construction exercise with the view to clearly delineate international boundaries as identified and accepted. We are only coming in until when this delineation exercise is done, then some of the structures that we might put in place for border control will come in. Although we will still take part in joint task force, that is the JTF operations in the Northeast region. The Customs Service is part of that exercise. We're always together with the military in carrying out that operation. That's our own submission. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Section 3, subsection 1, A-E-S of our Act, as amended, gives us some rule. One of it is, the first is, the court shall assist in maintenance of peace and order and in the protection and rescuing of the civilian population during period of emergency. The second one is maintenance of infrastructure, critical infrastructures for the state, the local government, and the federal government. And all of these do not actually extend to territorial protection. But we still synergize and collaborate with other agencies, and we are always ready to enforce the laws and orders of the federal government wherever and whenever we are directed so to do, to enforce. This is actually our position. We have prepared our submission in memo form, and we have submitted to the Secretariat.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Honorable Lowry wants to say something.
Federal government, you cannot abdicate to state and local government. If there is anything, you must go and do it. The federal government must spend money there to do the sensitization. You cannot abdicate to local government and state government and say you are giving them now to do that. I don't agree. This is exclusively a federal government thing, and it must be done. Madam Solicitor.
When the judgment was given in 2002, there was recognition that some people had been living there for years, and it was agreed that they should continue to reside in those areas, and it should not affect their rights and also their determination of their nationality, meaning that you are Cameroonian living on Nigerian territory, or you are Nigerian living on, or vice versa. I'm not sure which now. So that's quite clear. Now, we cannot unilaterally decide that because our people speak the same language and they reside in this place, it is Nigerian territory. We had agreed on the treaties that would define our borders before we went to the ICJ. Now, the ICJ ruled on the basis of those treaties and the assurances we have given. We cannot now say, because we now realize that these are the same people and they speak the same language and they're possibly from the same stock, that we believe this should be it. It may sound a little brutal, but our boundaries, we agree that they should be intangible, all of Africa. and not because they're perfect, but because we cannot continue to rule and rule again and exacerbate tensions. So I think it's very important we consider that and look at the instruments that define our boundaries. Going back to the ICJ may not necessarily resolve a problem that has been resolved by treaty already. And I think it's very important that we also get technical experts to look at these treaties that we have agreed to use to define our boundaries, to actually then decide where these areas fall, not just what the people say or they feel or what our emotions tell us, but really let us look at the instruments that we have agreed to define our borders. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Where these treaties start out in our country. Because if you talk about treaties, who did the treaties?
When did the people of Sinai, when did they occupy that place? And when did they draw up these boundaries? Which one came first? The treaties, the occupation of the areas, which came first? These people have been there before whatever treaties happened. And they are saying, this is how we have lived. This is our natural boundary. Respect it a little bit. And we're still talking about treaties drafted by somebody that I don't know. Madam, I think we need to also understand the feelings of the people. Yes, you have assented to whatever you have assented to, but does it make it acceptable to all? We should be talking about how do we remedy these issues. These are brothers. They have not challenged themselves. They have not quarreled amongst themselves. They agree that, look, when you cross this path, when you cross this river, when you cross this stream, you are in another community. Allow yourself to be. Then we are now forcing it. Then, no, you must not cross this river. We must give you out to Cameroon. DG, sir. When last did you visit these territories in contention? I mean, physically, not what people tell you on the field. Then, madam, you talked about it's over 10 years. Therefore, these judgments cannot be appealed. Is this the first judgment of ICJ that has not been implemented? I want to know. There are other countries that have gone to this ICJ and judgments have been given, and they say no, it does not reflect the desires of our people. This judgment can raise. So why is Nigeria in a hurry? Within the limit of these 10 years, were there no protests? If any community had protested before the 10 years elapsed, why did the Nigerian government not appeal the judgment at that time? You waited till after it, so no, it's too late. But before it got to the 10 years, people started protesting, saying, no, we don't belong here. So why did Nigeria not appeal the judgment before the 10-year period elapsed?
Yes, there may have been a treaty, and then stakeholders were not involved in the course of this whole process because of how these treaties are drawn up and executed. And then coming on ground, the people have rejected the aspect of implementation of the treaty. And I think the overriding essence of governance is to ensure that the people who are directly affected are also comfortable in the implementation of these treaties. So for me, I am thinking, or I am advising that the stakeholders here, particularly the National Boundaries Commission, and the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation, and the Surveyor General, is it not possible that we can explore some other probable means that can bring the two countries together? A treaty can be drawn up. What is in a treaty? It's merely an agreement. It's merely an agreement. That's why I said there's nothing esoteric about there's a treaty in existence. If these people can, if the two countries can, if we can, as Nigerians, as stakeholders from this part of the divide, we can initiate another round of treaty so that it can be convenient for the people. We have a duty as people in government to protect the interest of our people, and not even to advance or advocate for the implementation of some treaty that is not very convenient or comfortable for our people. So, Mr. DG, I feel very convinced that if you explore that window, all of us can have peace, and it is cheaper.
The other military department agencies that are part of the Nigerian team in the implementation of the judgment. The judgment has been passed. Now, the treaty, we know that the treaty is not perfect. The Europeans, the colonial masters that gave us these boundaries in Africa, confessed the fact that yes, these boundaries are not perfect. But in the wisdoms of the leaders of Africa, of African states, they agreed to accept the boundaries as imperfect as they are for peaceful coexistence. Because if you take the issue of disputing it today, Cameroon takes it, other countries, then there will be chaos in Africa. Now they agreed in their wisdom that, look, let us abide by it and take it and respect it. So that was the decision was taken a long time ago. Not by Boundary Commission, not by anybody here, but it was taken by the leaders of the nations in Africa. African Union, under African Union organization. So it is not for us to now to say, now look, we are now beginning to challenge it. Well, it's going to open up a new vista of issues as far as the country is concerned. It's not as if we are very, very patriotic. If there's anything we can do, we will have even wanted, if it's possible, all the 33 villages of Nigeria that were ceded to Cameroon, we will have said, look, these are all our people. Let us retain them. But because we know that is the boundary, and they crossed, they moved with the shrinking Lake Chad, and we know why they were right inside the Cameroon territory. Government now created avenue for them to be relocated and resettled. So if there's any Nigerian community that by virtue of the boundary line respected by Nigeria and her neighbor is now found to be on the wrong side of the line. I said the people that we said are found to be on the wrong side are communities of Nigeria that the boundary now is making it very obvious that this community is located on the wrong side. And I cited examples of some of these communities that were handed over to Cameroon, some we took over from Cameroon. So if there are such communities, federal government in its wisdom will provide means of resettling them and providing them with what is needed to make them feel part and parcel of Nigeria. It's just that they have the option of either you now be relocated back to Nigerian side or you remain there as Nigerians in the Cameroonian territory.
Okay, Honorable Chairman, sir, I don't think that anyone has an absolute right to self-determination. And there are constitutional provisions for citizenship and indigenship, so that has to be respected. Now, on assumption of independence, and following the plebiscite and the division of borders, people decided whether they wanted to remain in Cameroon or they wanted to be Nigerians, and that decision was taken at the time. Some chose, and that also split families at the time. But having said that, and the question I really wanted to answer was, what are the fundamental objectives of our foreign policy? And this has been consistent, that we should respect international law and treaty obligations. That is the underlying focus of our foreign policy objective. Now, if you recall that there had been public hearings, even when there was a lot of emotions with regard to Bakassi Peninsula, and the government had tried to negotiate, unsuccessfully of course, with Cameroon on this, and it didn't work. Now, in 2012, shortly before the 10 years moratorium given to us to appeal, the federal government set up a committee to see if we could review the judgment to determine whether there are areas that we could appeal or legal grounds for appeal. At the end, it was realized there was not much, especially given the position of Cameroon. As hardline as we are, Cameroon is probably even more harder line. I've participated in some of these meetings. So it's not a decision we can unilaterally take. And the issue of military force is not something that is in contemplation. And if we have agreed to respect our international obligations and treaties that we are signatory to, and commitments that have been made by previous presidents, and I should say that government is in continuance, unless we want to reopen, and this is not going to be very good for Nigeria because we've agreed to accept this. These are boundaries that, whilst we all acknowledge in the entire African region, are not perfect. They were just lines that possibly didn't take into consideration our social and historical background, but they are there anyway. And redefining would cause more problems than solutions. And that was the basis for the decision in 1964. It wasn't a decision that any of us here took. It's a decision that we grew up to meet, was already existing. So whilst we also sympathize with the affected communities, they have the opportunity to relocate into what is accepted as Nigerian territory, or to continue to reside where they are, but understand that they are on Cameroonian territories. They are Nigerians living on the other side of the border. I think that's really the issues. And if there are issues of resettlement, then these are issues we can engage with the National Boundary Commission, the states, the local governments affected.
Yeah, Chair, for information, all the judgments that the International Court of Justice has delivered and the treaties, if they come into conflict, which one is superior? Is the judgment?
The judgment is based on the truth.
Sorry, ma, because I don't want us to take the whole thing as if we have a lot of problems in Michigan. 80% of Michigan territory has already been demarcated and beacons placed. There was no complaint anywhere. The remaining 20% is why we are having problem. And this arises from the fact that when the beacons were placed, they were placed along watershed, which is the cardinal point of the judgment. But along the line, when they came to Rumske, whether you are aware, Attorney General, or you're not aware, when they came to place beacons in Rumske, which Nigeria gained from Cameroon, which is a tourist center, the Mixed Commission reported that they couldn't find watershed, that the watershed is missing. I'm quoting because I was on the field with the staff, former director of National Boundary Commission. So that the watershed is missing, that they cannot demarcate Rumsike, which is given to Nigeria, that they cannot demarcate that village because watershed is missing. And honestly speaking, my background is geology. The time we stood there, I told him, I don't need instrument. Watershed is the mountain peak. See the mountain peak. But they declined. No, we cannot enter Rumsike. For what? Because it's ceded to Nigeria. I don't know, Attorney General, whether you have ever asked this question. Rumsike, why is it not given to Nigeria? Why is it not beaconed? And why do our people are protesting? Whether we are ceded to Cameroon or left in Nigeria, we are one tribe. I told you, we have one local government there. So we are not doing emotional beating here. We are neither complaining that we are having some challenges if we are relocated. But the issue is the territory that is given to Nigeria, and the Mixed Commission refused to demarcate, to give to Nigeria. You have not complained. Then now you jump and begin to take Sina to give to Cameroon. This is why the problem arises. When the beacon started from point A in Michigan local government up to the place it ended, 80%, was there any complaint? Mangodi was demarcated, Guria was demarcated, Yellow was demarcated. Was there any complaint? Have we protested? Is it not the same people that were in the same border, that are in the same border that allow it to go? But why is it that we are seeing something wrong? Nigeria gained and Cameroon somehow, I don't know, either overlap, whatever I can say, and they are now trying to introduce treaty. Even if there is treaty, can one village out of the entire community have a treaty? If there is a treaty on this territory, it is all of us, including those areas that have been demarcated. So why is one village of less than 2,000 population, why is it of interest that it has its own treaty? With whom? Something is wrong here. Something is wrong. Something is being hidden. It's not about ceding Sina to Cameroon. That's not the problem. But why is Nigeria shy away from taking Rumske before they go to give Sina, if they are going to give Sina?
Can you answer that question?
Now, before we commence this physical engagement of it, We have balanced the entire strength of the boundary. On the ground? On the ground, yes.
Boots on ground.
Yes, we had that.
Did you involve the community?
Yes.
And they allowed you?
That's it, because because the people were sensitized. Of course, if you don't sensitize them and let them know and you just come there, they will not know what you're doing. And that's why it was surprising, because we said as far back as 2007, they had marked and signed templates for the positions of the pillars in this Sina axis. Now, when we have issues, Rumsuki, there were some other places too that we had issues but we were able to resolve them. We had about over 20, 30 areas.
How were those issues?
No, we kept on looking at it and...
what sort of issues did you have?
No. Issues of misinterpretation. Now, for instance, the Rumsuki, we seem to differ in the way we interpret the treaty.
Sorry, I'm a layman.
Yes.
You said we seem to differ.
Nigeria and Cameroon. And the UN was not quite helpful because...
So we're supposed to interpret or implement?
No, but you have to interpret something.
We're supposed to interpret or implement?
No, but when they say go and place a pillar on a particular place, you need to go and locate that place. It's not something that is marked for you to just go and just put. No, you have to read it and understand it and go on ground and identify features that are mentioned.
And when you disagree?
When we disagree, we've been, that's why we said we have three.
In this case, you have disagreed on interpretation.
No. We have never disagreed.
No, he is telling us that the watershed.
No. Wait. We had never, like I said.
In this case, you have disagreed.
Now it's like what we know as the disagreement areas, like I said, are those three areas: Rumsuki, Koja, and the position of Pilati. That is what we have known all this while. Now, if Nigeria wants to introduce,
sorry.
Yes.
And I don't look for further disagreement if the people didn't understand you.
No, because we said the thing is very clear.
There's no room for disagreement if they didn't understand you from the beginning.
Well, they had that. No, wait. It's like saying Nigeria. No, it's like saying Nigeria wants to unilaterally.
You already have a mindset.
No.
I asked a few questions.
Yes.
And I'm not sure the answer will give you.
No.
How were these treaties arrived at? Treaties are supposed to be between one thing and the other.
Between colonial masters.
Who are the colonial masters?
The Anglo-German.
Are we still colonized?
Well, but at independence,
are we still colonized?
we are given these instruments. And we said we are going to respect them. It's not as if that's to say African nations should just disregard all these treaties.
I asked also, are there no other judgments of the ICJ that are not being respected?
I don't know of that, because I have never been part of any ICJ judgment. This is the one that for the first time Nigeria is involved.
All ICJ judgments have they been respected?
The ICJ judgment as it affects the Nigeria-Cameroon borders, the governments of both states agreed to respect and abide.
Other jurisdiction.
I'm not in a position, Honorable, to speak about the decisions of other countries. I can only speak in relation to what commitments were made by our respective principals, the presidents of both countries, to the effect that they will respect and abide by the decision of the ICJ, pre and post judgment.
Okay, thank you very much. Whatever government is trying to do, the people have to buy into it.
If they don't buy into it, it won't work. No matter the intention, no matter what the law says. So in my view, I think it's very important that we continue this engagement with the relevant community and the Boundary Commission. We go to Adamawa State, visit the site, and come up with a solution. This committee will intervene, but not at this stage. Let us go on a fact-finding mission, and then we will intervene. Because whatever you're trying to do, the communities have a right, and their rights must be considered. And even the treaty says it in article, what article is it again? Yes, one of the articles. So it's very important that the natural boundary communities and the communities work together. Otherwise, this demarcation exercise should be put on hold until
the disputes are resolved and what is causing this dispute are resolved. So I rule that you put the demarcation exercise on hold pending the resolution of all the disputed territories. Thank you so much. The committee so rules, and we will visit the Adamawa State, the affected communities. We'll come up with a holistic report. And yes, we are a law-abiding nation, but we have to be on the same page. Thank you very much.
And that is the directive of the House of Representatives to the National Boundary Commission to stay further action on demarcation of boundaries between Nigeria and Cameroon until an oversight visit is undertaken to affected boundary communities. Meanwhile, some lawmakers have been speaking on the activities of the 10th House of Representatives so far and what Nigerians should anticipate when the House reconvenes from recess. Let's take a listen.
The first thing you will observe is the fact that it is a peaceful house. In most cases, electing the principal officers has always been very topsy-turvy. But then we had a smooth election. It's the first election that you have over 90% of members supporting all the principal officers. The election was quite unanimous, it was profound. And then the House, in its wisdom, went and chose, by members' acclamation and affirmation and voting, choose a very reputable personality, Dr. T.J. Abbas, to be our speaker, and then backed up by a very prominent, erudite, quite promising young man, Ben Kalu, as deputy. And then we also went ahead and chose elected all the remaining principal officers, from the majority leader to the minority leader to the chief whip, minority whip, and all of those principal officers. And it was devoid of rancor, it was quite peaceful. So as far as takeoff is concerned, it took up on a very solid ground. Secondly, the House has also gone ahead to announce those who would chair and deputize each of the committees. It's been done very seamlessly. It couldn't have been 100% satisfactory to all the members, but then members have accepted it, and it was unanimous on the floor of the House, because everybody believing that we cannot all chair all committees or cannot all be chairmen or deputies. That the House is to run for 4 years. Opportunities will come and go. So it's been so acceptable. In terms of interplay, power interplay between the parliament and the executive is quite smooth. We had quite good good relationship, cordiality, comradeship, but then we have not lost the executive-legislative balance in terms of performing our functions. And then in terms of moving motions and bills, you can imagine how members are struggling to move motions on the floor of the assembly. In terms of punctuality to even attendance at the assembly, attendance has been very remarkable. People are always wanting to be prompt. Everybody wants to be heard. When I was coming to the National Assembly, I must confess, I never thought I would meet so much robust personalities that I met. Since I've been here, I've seen that there are diverse people from diverse places in Nigeria, from the north, from the east, from the south, from the west, and they're all pleasant people. Not only that they are pleasant, they are all highly intelligent people, people who are purposefully driven, people who have the interests of their people at heart. Everybody wants to showcase their various constituents. So I've seen an assembly that is full of erudity. It's full of, we have so many PhD holders, we have people who have had experience in aviation, in business, in commerce, in public affairs, in all wide range of human endeavors. That is the caliber of people that I have met in the House. So in terms of takeoff, I must say that it's been quite robust. And then for me as a person, I've also succeeded in moving a motion on the floor of the House, but it took me a lot of effort before my motion could be listed. I still have four other motions pending for me to move, but then there has been no space. It shows that the competition is high. Nobody has come here to come and be a bench warmer or a lukewarm person. Everybody has a purpose, they have a mission, and they are pursuing such purpose with vigor, with resilience, with every dynamism that you can think about. I want to thank the Right Honorable Speaker and the Deputy Speaker for finding me worthy to be part of the two other committees that I'm currently serving. I am representing Lagos State in the employment racketeering of MDAs, parastatals, and what have you. And what are we there to do? We're just trying to look and correct the imbalances that has prevailed our employment system in Nigeria. Does it mean that if you don't know anybody as a Nigerian, you cannot get employment? We have seen the fact that most MDAs employ only by waivers. They employ waivers, which means they will not advertise. And by not advertising, they choose their relatives and friends and put them in government. Whereas it's supposed to be a transparent thing where every sector of the Nigerian populace is represented. So we have seen that we're trying to correct that. Those are some of the things we are seeing. We have also seen some corrupt practices, sharp practices going on in our employment system. There have been allegations, which we're also trying to prove out, of people who sell slots and all of those ones. So, but I thank God the committee is still on. We are yet to round up. We've been working rigorously and tirelessly. My colleagues are on recess, but I have not been on recess. I'm also involved in the recovery of looted funds, of seized funds. You remember that there are some funds that were asked to be returned to TSA. In September 2015, federal government directed that all funds must go to TSA, that every agency's MDAs must have one singular account so as to prevent fraud and whatever. And so it was federal government so directed. But they were trying to investigate and ensure that this directive that was issued in 2015 was carried out. If it was carried out, was it properly carried out? Was it carried out to the latter? If there are abuses, you understand that those who could not meet the deadline when they were supposed to transfer, and they still have, unremitted funds, they have penalties, which they have to pay. Each of the banks and agencies have penalties to pay to the coffers of government. So we're trying to also support Mr. President's effort at ensuring that we can plug all the loopholes, and then so that we need abundance, we need a lot of resources to do so many things as a country. We're in dire need of economic recovery. So I'm also involved in that committee. I've also been, working tirelessly to ensure that we can come up with something, trying to assist our country and trying to also balance the executive-legislative relationship in terms of, it's not only, oversight functions, we have not done this one. Let us also support and help to bring in more resources to our country so that we can have enough for our people.
Our relationship with the Speaker and all the House leaders is very, very cordial, the one of respect, and the one that one could really rely on. I enjoy this 10th Assembly. I don't know what it is on the 9th one, but this one is one that everybody seems to be committed. And so I thank God to be part of this 10th Assembly. Ad hoc committee that I'm part of, the chairman of the committee on JAM. Most of us in this committee have been attending the meetings. We have had very good deliberations. We've been on time, and we have worked very hard. We just concluded our assignment, handed it over to the clerk to take it to the speaker. And I know that what we have done, it's a very good work for our Nigerians. I know when it goes out there, Nigerians will be happy. All that we're doing is to see that our country, our people are reflected in whatever we're doing in a way that they will be happy with this 10th Assembly. It is my prayer that we continue to do so, so that Nigerians will know that this 10th Assembly is here for work and is not for just business as usual. It's a thing that everybody will appreciate. I want the public to really know that the president of this country is doing his best, and where they've seen that things are not going the way they want, I'm appealing to Nigerians to be patient and to wait and see what the president will do. He started very well, and we will be very proud if they can come to us and lay their complaints, and we'll be able to take it to the president. We should be one in our thinking. We should work together as one Nigeria. We have no other country. Nigeria is our country. This is where we belong. God brought us together, and let us live together in peace. I want to thank you, Nigerians out there, for your love and kindness for this country.
One of those outstanding committees is the Committee on the Need to Identify and Recover Public Funds forfeited, seized, and abandoned in financial institutions and other government institutions. And the ultimate aim is to use the funds to see if to help the government to cushion the hardship being caused by the removal of fuel subsidy. The committee have undertaken the task to ensure that these monies recovered were actually paid into. Because there are also, allegations, because at this point we call them allegations. We are investigating it. We cannot preempt what the outcome of our report is. There's still an allegation. But this is an allegation that most of these recoveries did not find its way to the right destination. And it is in the exercise of our powers that we're investigating it. And I must be very frank in telling you that a lot of progress have been made. A lot of good recoveries have been made. Apart from this, you also see the issue of commercial banks. For example, the TSA guideline came up in 2015. The deadline, all commercial banks were asked that certain categories of government accounts should be transferred to single treasury account. And the deadline for the transfer was fixed to be 15th of September 2015. And we got reliable, credible information that notwithstanding this directive, some of these commercial banks are still going ahead operating those accounts. The funds that were supposed to be remitted to these TSA are still in their possession. They are trading with it. Allegedly. Yes, that's the information we got. It is part of what we're investigating. We'll find, looking at them, these are categories of the accounts, shows evidence of remittances as at when due, and the CBN, together with the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, have also fixed a penalty for any bank that fails to remit within the deadline. We've also discovered in the course of our assignments that some banks fail to remit within the deadline. So far, if the 10th Assembly maintains this tempo and this level of dedication, it may, at the end of the day, be the best Nigeria have had. Given what has played out during this recess, the experiences so far gathered by members, I can say that on resumption, Nigerians should expect a robust house. Nigerians should look forward for that house, that its business will be all about the people of Nigeria. Many people have seen that for this our country to move forward, for things to go well, legislations need to reflect the people. It needs to reflect the needs, the yearnings, the peculiarity of the Nigerian people. This time around, given what played out in the last general elections, where it is now obvious that the process of who comes to represent the people lies with the people. Because the last election, especially the 25th February general election, the people decided to a large extent those who represent them. And if you're coming here to represent your people without bringing to the front burner the yearnings, the needs of your people, and for it to be attended to through the instrumentality of legislation, if you go back and say you want to come back again, they will stone you. And there are many people out there who are willing to come and replace you. So I'm foreseeing a situation where upon the House reconvening, you're going to see motions, you're going to see bills that are reflective of the wish, of the desire of the people. And it's to bring about good governance. So I am looking forward for a robust House. It's going to be a highly debated sessions. The plenaries will be highly debated. You will see the full participation of the legislators.
This committee of student loan is a very good initiative by the government, and we've even make a public hearing. By the grace of God, we engage the stakeholders. They bring in their input. We've discussed on so many things, and we are rounding up the report so that we can submit back to the House. In one of the motions I personally raised on the floor, there was an ad hoc committee formed to not only investigate, to mediate and bring a resolution that will help the government. Thank God, even last week, the federal government have started making an even a proactive, and strategic, plan about these farmers' herders clashes, annual clashes. If you could remember, in some times when we were in the plenary, I raised a motion on that farmers' herders clash in my constituency, the federal constituency in Gombe State, which is year in, year out, claiming lives, destroying properties. And we don't see this as something that we can take lightly, looking at the strategic importance of Yemen today, but in Gombe State and in the Northeast geopolitical zone, and what economic benefits we have as regards to that constituency. We have a dam. This dam will house a lot of opportunities and advantage for Nigeria, not only Gombe State or Northeast geopolitical zone. We have, because of the dam we have a Genco, that's Marbon Electric Generation Company, which is already, they have started working and they even link up to the national grid. We have Muhammadu Buhari Industrial Park built by the state government under Alhaji Muhammadu Inuwa Hayas administration, which is a very, very, very important project. And you see, my constituency is agriculturally, viable area. You can see we are farming a lot of palm produce in the area. So if you allow that to continue, it will affect a lot in that area. We have a lot of opportunities and advantages that, if harnessed, it will help the socio-economic development of the region and to the country at large. So I raise the motion. The House, under the leadership of Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, formed that committee, which, by the grace of God, if we make me to be a member of that committee, and we deliberated, we discussed, we engaged so many stakeholders in the level of the federal government, and we are going back to my constituency in Gombe State to discuss further with the initially there's another committee formed by the state government. We're going to engage them and all the relevant stakeholders, with even neighboring states and neighboring local governments, so that we can have a holistic approach to the input of various stakeholders from all quarters, so that our resolution will go in tandem with the initiative presently on the ground by the federal government. For now, you can't give a general overview or general assessment of the conduct of all the members. But as far as I'm concerned, I think we are above average, because the house is new, and the moment we've started, we are on recess, despite the fact that there are committees that are working. But the committee did not finish what they are doing. You can't say, unless there is an issue in one or two committees, that there are some issues which I think the House is trying to find out what, how, and why all these things we are hearing happened. Then with the view to send this to the committee to investigate, or if the House find out what happens, we are going to take an appropriate action at the committee level. We are going to do justice to whoever is due for justice. And talking about the issue of allegation of 100 million, I am highly perturbed if I see the kind of people that are talking about this. It's disturbing, is unnecessary, is uncalled for a person who is coming from academia and intellectual, a person who supposed to be a person with integrity, with high level of reputation, to come out and say something he did not go deeply to verify. If you have somebody you have issue with, for you to have one brush and paint the entire house black, I don't think if that is kind. It's unjust and it's unnecessary. It's a lie. Why should somebody give us 100 million? For what? And if there is some 100 million given to people, to who and who, I can swear with Almighty Allah, nobody give me that money. And if somebody gave it to someone to give me, he did not bring it to me. And I'm assuring you, whenever somebody give me that money, I will ask him, is for what? I have integrity. I'm not in politics because I don't have something to do. I'm in politics because I believe I can add value to my people and I can add value to Nigeria. By the grace of God, by what I have seen, the 10th Assembly, we have quite a number of people that are committed. You can see we are on recess. I am supposed to go to so many places and do so many things, but I'm deprived, or I deprive myself of that opportunity, because I believe there are so many things I should wait and do that affects the lives of others. So I have to wait and do it diligently. I used to come to this house from 10, sometimes I leave here 11 midnight, 11 in the night. Why? Because if you come with a mission to be productive, if you come with a zeal and quest to achieve something very tangible, you have to be serious. You have to make a lot of sacrifices. It's part of the sacrifice so many of us, or some of us are making. We are staying behind with the views to see what we can do now and make our own legislative plans and strategy, so that the moment we reconvene, we continue from where we stopped.
Those views and perspectives of some of the lawmakers provide some insight into the legislative agenda of the House of Representatives and what Nigerians should expect when the House reconvenes from recess. That's our package for today. We thank you so much for joining us. To join us again for another episode of the program, I am Mitaire Ikwen. Bye for now.